What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show this week. I'm joined by fellow Pennsylvanian, a buddy of mine that, man, we've been messaging back and forth. We met not this past year, but last year in person. Finally been able to shake your hand, Dan. I got Dan Smeltz from the Craving Wild Podcast out here in PA doing some great things. An awesome dude. I'm friggin' pumped to have you on, Dan. Welcome to the show, dude.
What's going on, buddy? I appreciate the time, and yeah, we've been trying to link up for quite some time now.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
It feels good to finally get on the mic.
I know, absolutely. Dan, let's run this. I meant to ask you this on prior to being live on air, so you can be like, dude, you're a dick. But I want to just see where we're at together as far as age range. I'm 36. Where are you at as far as age range goes?
33.
Okay, so you're in there. Dude, what was your go-to like superhero TV show growing up?
Honestly, I didn't watch like cartoons or shows or anything like that.
No, okay.
I was big sports, big like outdoors. What's the name of that one show? It was like kind of like the same guys that Crocodile Hunter, but before him.
Okay.
Man, I can't remember. I was really into animals. So like
Okay.
any kind of like the Mutual of Omaha, Wild Kingdom, stuff like that. That's what I was really into. So honestly, I'm the worst person to talk to about movies, TV shows. People make references all the time, and I'm just sitting there like I have no idea what's going on.
Dude, I love, so listen, I love TV shows, like movies and stuff like that, but like again, a lot of things I don't digest. Like I'll digest it there in a moment, but when someone will reference like, oh yeah, that's Step Brothers, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I watched it, I probably laughed at it, but I don't remember. You know what I mean? But that's good. So growing up then, sports wise, what was your go-to, baseball, basketball, football? What was it, man?
It almost seemed like it was whatever was in season, right? So like growing up, I played a lot of baseball, so I was really into baseball. Mets fan. Yeah, I know we suck. I get it. Blah 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 blah. And it slowly just kind of transitioned into football. Dolphins fan. Once again, get it. We suck. So on and so forth. And just kind of bounced around from that. A little bit of basketball. I kind of just like basketball players, not necessarily any teams.
Were you an Allen Iverson fan?
Not really. No, I was more of like a Kobe guy growing up.
Okay.
I respected him. I mean, he's one of the greatest ball handlers ever, right?
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't like a super big Iverson fan. My buddy was a Sixers diehard, so I think that's kind of why I was always like that. Like I can't exactly, follow everything that he does. So I just, if basketball was on, I'd watch it. I'd say, that like the Kobe Shaq duo, that was fun to watch.
Yeah, that was
a little too young for Jordan, but understand the legacy there.
Yeah, the magnitude. I'm kind of obviously in the same boat. I remember I actually remember when he hit that game winner against the Jazz. Like I actually do remember watching that. I mean, I was young too, but I do remember that. But dude, I just wanted to get that feel for you, man. I wanted to just see where you were at and all that stuff, because the main gist that I want to have you on, man, is I want to say, number one, congratulations on a really cool experience and finishing where you finished at Lancaster. I'm sure maybe personally it's not where you wanted to end up being, just because of, I can't speak for you, but man, from that outside, hell of a showing. Great job. You just missed a cut. What were you, 36?
Yeah, something like that. I missed a cut by 2 points.
Yes, something like that. 2 points, man. So I want to extend a congratulations, going out there, shooting awesome, and I can't wait to see some other things that you are going to be doing with that. So like from that, what are your adventures with, shooting maybe a little bit competitive? Because this is something that I would like to start diving into a little bit personally, because I need that little competitive aspect back in my life, and I want to just test it. And you're, like I said, I respect you, a friend and acquaintance that we could have this conversation with. So I'm excited. So what do you have coming up this summer, this spring, and the future, what it holds for you, dude?
So first of all, I want to say thank you. I appreciate saying all that. Lancaster was my first ever big tournament, and really going into it, I just wanted to shoot well.
Wow.
And I think you were saying this about like being competitive stuff, like getting back into like that competitive nature. There's nothing better than target archery as far as like hunters go. That's actually the closest thing I've been able to relate to, like that feeling when a deer comes in or a big buck comes in, your target comes in, that like just uncontrollable anxiety that just kind of starts at your toes and just rips you apart right from the inside out. And target archery is the same thing, right? Like you could shoot in your backyard all fine and dandy, shoot perfect 300s, all that stuff. And then you get into, the lighting's different. You can't control. There's people, literally like right in front of you shooting. Their releases are clicking and stuff like that. So it's like, it forces you to get used to stuff that you can't control, right?
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing. And then obviously just competition, right? Like just trying to be the best that you possibly can. It's two competitions, really. There's the actual competition with other people and then the competition within yourself to just be the best archer you can. So yeah, I was pretty pumped with Lancaster. I shot well for the time. I just got back into shooting target. I had to take some time off for work. I was working nights, weekends. So I just really couldn't I still shot my bow, but I didn't have time to make shoots. So I was super, super happy with the results at Lancaster. Got to shoot next to Levi Morgan, which was pretty dope.
That's awesome.
Super cool dude, super humble guy. I gained a lot of respect for him. He's a really, really nice, just down to earth guy. Kind of, just kept it rolling from there, man. We went on. I shot at the sports show. I won the sports show in the bow hunter division.
Oh, nice. Dude, I meant to ask you about that. Congrats, because I know you shot it last year. So congratulations on that, man. Way to go. Because you finished second last year.
No, I won it last year too.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I didn't. I thought
the year before I came in third, I think.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking about. But then, okay, nice. Well, I kept my title intact, right? So you're a true champion. You defended that title. Yep. Hell yeah, dude.
Right.
Fixed
really,
him.
really, just kind of, just real, right? I believe you've had him on numerous times. He's like unbelievable shooter, and he's in the bow hunter class. Like these guys that are in at the top tier of this bow hunters class is just they're insane.
Yeah,
putting out insane numbers. So yeah, next year I'll probably move up to open class and fight with the big boys over there.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, going from the sports show at the farm show, went right into there was another shoot at Lancaster for USA Archery Pennsylvania State Championship, and I won that.
Nice, dude. Holy hell, man.
Yeah, just kind of kept it going, man. Like every shoot I would just shoot like a couple more points up, and just kind of kept that ball rolling. The next shoot, I've taken some time off. I won a couple of like other local stuff around here. The next big one, I got invited down to London, Kentucky for ASA. So I might go down that if, time and the funds and stuff like that. Flights right now are just insane.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep everything kind of close to home. But when you get invites to like big shoots like this, you almost got to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's even if you wouldn't make that should be a nice little confidence booster in itself. But dude, I want to go back to something that you said about that. It's a competition, obviously, in itself with other individuals, like where you're shooting, but the one in your mind, just because again, with being that I've only shot local things, I've shot, obviously TAC events and other style events. I've never entered one that would be like, okay, this is actually going to count. You know what I mean? Like I used to mess around, mess with the buds and all that type of stuff, but never one that it actually means something. And, I finally feel like I'm in a good spot at shot process and mentally where I'm going. And I feel confident enough where, dude, even like in the past, I wouldn't have cared to be like, yeah, Dan, let's go shoot. Let's go do whatever. And then a couple of years ago, I would have been like, hey man, cool. Like, yeah, we'll shoot. But I would have like my butthole would have been, you know what I mean? Like I would have gotten nerves where now I'm back to shooting that. And the key was even going to Nate's Seller's shop where I shot in front of Nate and I was like, okay, I did this. Like, I'm cool. I could shoot in front of other individuals and not get all worked up about it. So, and again, going back to the competitive things, I just want to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I'm a big believer in that. My coaching days, my playing days, my teaching day, like doing all that stuff. So man, like where are you? Like, how did you manage that, since that was like your first big tournament that this year at Lancaster along those lines? Because like you said, you did the farm show one, the outdoor show, and that one still has people with, but that one I feel I'm excited for that one next year just because of the atmosphere type of ordeal to compete in that one or try my hand at that one, I guess I should say. But Lancaster, man, that's a different ball game. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you have 100 some people going across the line. Like you mentioned, Dan, you're right there. Like you're right up in their business. They fart, you smell it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
yeah. So mentally, how are you calming yourself down to execute this situational shot?
I honestly, I just kind of zone out. I try not to let anything bother me. I've actually found that the more shooters there are, the less it bothers me. If there's a group, if there's like the shoot ups, that's probably gonna absolutely melt me, right? Because it's just two people shooting and a bunch of people watching those two people. But when there's 130 something people shooting and there's, I don't know, a couple hundred people in the background watching, they're not watching you. Like you might have like your significant other there watching you and some friends and stuff, but all eyes aren't on you. So in the in the beginning, it's not too bad, right? When like the other shoots, like the sports show shoot, my first year doing it, I got really nervous, and then the second year, it was kind of like half nervous, and last year, like all my shots broke clean. I was just like kind of in autopilot pretty much. Yeah, just kind of honestly, just throwing yourself into those tournaments you just have that ability to learn, right? Just learn from, okay, like how am I going to react to this? How is my bow going to react to this? That's actually a really big thing that a lot of people don't think about is when you are outside or at your local shop or whatever shooting, you get used to the flow of your bow, and when you get into high stress situations, high anxiety situations, that bow's the picture's not going to look the same. So you got to set your bow up for that, not for when you're at home. Right, shooting at home is great. It's awesome, but if you clean the score at home, it doesn't really matter, right?
Right.
Being able to put yourself in those situations, be like, okay, I need more weight on the front, more weight in the back. I need less weight. I need my sight closer, further away. I need to shoot a big dot. Magnification. It gets really, really complicated, obviously, as you go, up into the higher classes and stuff. There's more things to play with, but just really making sure that you take something from every shoot, right, and just kind of build off of that and build off of what you like, not necessarily what everybody's doing. YouTube's a great thing, but the problem with YouTube is like everybody's a professional shooter on YouTube,
right?
And there's a lot of like bad information really on YouTube. The best thing that you can really do is like YouTube's great to get started,
right?
Once you get started and get the wheels turning, it's just all whatever you like, whatever makes you feel the most comfortable, whatever you're the most confident with, just shoot, like, and give it time, right? Like I actually learned this. So I shoot a 3-power lens, and I just started shooting powered lenses. Obviously in the bow hunter class you can't do that, so I never did that. So moving up to open, I was like, okay, I'm gonna play with some powered lenses and talk to a lot of guys, and they said kind of keep it below 4x because once you get above 4x, you got to run clarifiers in your peep, and then you run into issues with the sun and debris and dust and depending on how the lighting is and stuff like that. So I wanted to keep it below that 4x so I can just run a standard peep, keep it simple, stupid method, mentality kind of. But I shot a lighted pin, and this is actually a funny story. So in USA archery events, you can't shoot any electronics. I had no idea of this, right? I'm just showing up here at a shoot, and you got to get your bow inspected, and the guy's just looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, honestly I don't know, so you just tell me. Right. He's like, you can't have any light, like you can't have any electronics on your bow. I'm like, oh shit, like I didn't know that. So I pulled the thing off. So the shoot that I won for Pennsylvania, I didn't even have a pin. I didn't have a no lights on my what's it called,
your scope,
on the end of your pin. I don't know why it's I'm losing. What's that, buddy?
Like I was gonna say, I like on your pin, or trying to think.
Yeah, your fiber optic.
Yeah, there we go.
So I basically shot with a dark pin, and honestly that calmed me down, not having that like direct point of reference on a target. So I started thinking about it and playing with, going back to the 3x lens, and I put a circle, right? So I forget the size of the circle, but it's literally just a black circle. So the theory behind that is you can see through the circle and see what you're trying to shoot. So I was like, okay, that might work better for me because I seem to not like, a direct point of reference to aim at, or to aim with, I should say. And I shot, we have local leagues down the road here, and I shot the worst score I've shot in 2 years when I first put that ring on there. And I was like, I'm taking this thing off immediately as soon as I get home. Like, there's no doubt about it. This is garbage. This was a bad idea. I listened to a buddy. Shouldn't have done that. Right. So long story short, I, work, life, all that stuff. I didn't have a chance to change it before the next week for the next shoot. So I was like, you know what? Let me just give it another chance. I ended up shooting my career high that week. So I was like, okay. I was like, all right, cool. So last week, this is going on to another learning experience, right? This is where I'm at in my mental career for archery. I go up there, I shoot, you shoot 2 practice ends, clean those, and then we shoot 15 ends of 3 arrows, so it's 450 round, a lot of guys call it. I shoot 13 ends clean. The 14th end starts. Now, theoretically, I've shot 15 clean ends, including practice, right? But practice doesn't count, obviously. So physically, I can do it. Something in my brain went, oh, man, all you have to do is shoot 6 shots clean, which you've shot however many, 39, no problem. And you've cleaned this. And there's only been one person to clean this in like 15 years. So it's in my brain, right? And every shot from there on out, it just got like the panic just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And by the last of it, I was literally like taking my thumb from right field and just slamming it. I just couldn't, my brain, my body, no part of me wanted anything to do with shoot my bow at that point in time.
Wow.
And yeah, my girlfriend was like, you need to chill out.
And you're like, but you don't understand.
Right. It's just something internally that you gotta deal with and learn. And that's what separates the Levi Morgans from, just normal people like us, right? Like,
yep.
Being able to just work through that, learn to work through that. You're still going to feel it. It's never going to go away.
Right.
But just being able to control it, I guess you would say.
Yeah, dude. I remember like 3 years ago, it was like during the summertime, I was like, hey, come out here, just like hang out with me for a little bit. I'm like, count. And I was working on the shot process, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, just count in your head. I want to see, let's get to at least 7. And then from 7, I'll try to break my shot off. And this was like when I was struggling. And I got to like 3. She's like 1, 2, bam, right? It's like a punching bag, right? I'm letting it rip. She's like, and she just looks at me because she has no competitiveness, like she could give 2 craps of 0% in her body about any of that. Like, she's like, why do you want to do this? You know what I mean? Like, she supports it. But like, why do you want to do this? And she's like, why can't you just wait till 7? Why can't you just leave your finger there? And I'm like, you want to go here right now? Like, this is how we're gonna start our day of arguing because you're giving me shit because I can't, keep my finger around that trigger. But yeah, dude, I know what you mean and along those lines. And so we started interacting with each other, man. I would say probably right in the beginning of when I started Antler Up, right? So about 4 years ago.
Yeah, probably about that. Yeah,
about that. And I remember earlier on during that time frame, man, like you were always working on your bows and doing that type of stuff. And I love to see that. A buddy of mine, Taylor, he just recently bought some new equipment, a new bow and all that type of stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm so fired up for you. And he's like, why, man? And I was just like, because I just love seeing the individuals that just ooze that passion and just love that stuff so much. It's just, you root for your buddy during hunting season, all that type of stuff, or in life or job situations. It's the same thing. Like, I just love seeing that, right? Because right now in my life, it's my family and archery and friends and all that type of stuff. So seeing that, it's awesome. So seeing that in the beginning from you, Dan, I was like, man, I love seeing how he's gotten into this. Would you say during that time frame, because like, you could even elaborate a little bit on your story with this. Was that always there as far as wanting to maybe one day compete? Was it just, man, shooting for fun? And then, like you said, that competitiveness came out. Like, where did this start to where it is now?
Man, that's a really good question. I think it just slowly manifested itself. I guess where it really started is, so I've always enjoyed just shooting stuff, whatever it is, slingshots, bows, guns, doesn't matter. As a kid, had a bow, and then obviously sports came into the field, right? And once sports comes in, that's pretty much all you're doing, right? So that pretty much was from a small kid up through, senior year in high school. And once I got out of high school, I just started working. I didn't go to college or anything like that. So that obviously, now you just become an adult, right? You go right from being a kid to got to go to work, got bills to pay, all that stuff. And I ended up getting a job with guys who remodeled kitchens, bathrooms, did additions out in Jersey, and they were into target archery. Now, I got back into bow hunting right after high school.
Okay.
So at that point in time, I was just into bow hunting. Like, that's all I wanted to do. All I cared about was bow hunting, or hunting in general, really. So I started working with them in the summertime, and it came to fall, and they're like, hey, listen, we hunt in Jersey. So, and they live right next to me, so we were carpool. They're like, either you got to drive to Jersey every day, and I had an 88 F-150 that got like -6 miles to the gallon, right? So that really wasn't an option. Um, so long story short, I ended up just buying a Jersey license and just hunting with him, and he would drop me off at like random pieces of public, and I would hunt, and just kind of I just got a little bit more into shooting, right? A little bit more into hunting, a little bit more into shooting. That winter, he was in the two partners that I worked for, they were in leagues, archery leagues. And he's like, hey, why don't you just, we'll just shoot after work on, I think it was like Wednesdays or Thursdays or something like that. I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I literally have nothing else to do other than work and go home. So I'm down. So I started doing that. And that was, man, I want to say that was like 10 years ago, maybe something like that. And I think I did that for like 2 or 3 years with them. And I just had a normal, like, bear archery bow, like pretty much I feel like everybody starts with, and just kind of saved up my money, ended up getting a newer flagship bow, and my scores went up. And it's like an addictive disease, man. Once you see your scores start to go up, you just want them to go up, go up, go up. And then you're sitting next to these guys who are shooting lights out, and you're like, oh man, I want to be like these guys. Like, what's going on? Like, how can they do it and I can't do it? And it just took time. And like I was saying before, I had that like 5-6 year break in between. Still shot my bow, still worked on bows, did all that stuff. Actually, I started working on bows because one of my best friends, actually Eddie, who's on our podcast, he ran a bow shop, and the bow shop, well, it was a outdoor store with an archery section, and they started getting wacky. So he left, and essentially that left all of us without a press. So at the time, I was like, screw it. I just went out and bought a press and just started buying all this stuff, and just, and then that just kind of took over from there. I just started working on my stuff, working on other people's stuff, and really start learning like the whole micro tuning thing, and just seeing what does what really. Learning that whole side of the bow hunting and bow shooting. And yeah, once I got off of nights, I just went back into it. My girlfriend was like, just do it. And yeah, that's pretty much all I needed was the switch. She flipped the switch, and it's just been full bore. I actually built a archery range at my house, 20-yard range at my house, so I can just shoot whenever now. I don't got to worry about wind, cold, any of that stuff.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I that's a really cool story. I love that you were able to share that. Now, obviously, since you've been doing this, working on your own stuff for over like you said, the last handful of years, what is as far as like setup goes, like maybe arrow and rests and all that type of stuff, what's been like your unbreakable, like this seems to be the thing that works for me?
Target or hunting?
Hey, man, you could even say both. Like if you want to pick one and hammer that out and then do the next one.
So for bow hunting, we'll start off with that one because that's probably primary most of your listeners. I like to just keep it simple, keep as little moving parts as possible. So I typically run just a cable driven drop away, but I've had some issues with them recently, so I'm actually going to a limb driven because I've never had an issue with a limb driven, like a Hamsky rest. So that I'm gonna end up putting that on my hunting bow. But as far as sights, I just run a single pin slider sight. I have a Hoyt, so I have that whole Picatinny thing. That stuff's really cool. Does it really matter? I don't personally. No, I don't think so. I ran Elite for a little while. I really like their bows. Shot them very, very well as well. Stabilizers I keep short. I do run a back bar just because that's what I'm used to shooting target. I really like that. Shooting 70 pounds. I don't shoot anything. I actually ordered 80-pound limbs, so I'm gonna try a different build. Just to tinker more. Really, that's it. Arrow setups, I like to keep it really in like that 500 to anywhere from 500 to 550. Now, with that being said, I'm a 31-inch draw shooting 70 pounds, so I can get away with that. I'm not, by all means, I'm not like super heavy, super high FOC guy. I'm more concerned about our arrow flight and making sure the arrow hits square on the target. Because my philosophy is if you can't hit what you're aiming at, it don't matter how heavy your arrow is, doesn't matter how fast your arrow is, doesn't matter any of that stuff, right? If you're not hitting what you're aiming at, none of that matters. Broadhead wise, it's pretty much, man, I go back and forth. I go from like severs to like I've been shooting tooth of the arrow heads. I've never really had a problem with any broadhead I've ever shot, to be honest, knock on wood. Any issue that I've ever ran into was 100% my fault. So
Okay.
I can't blame that on on a piece of equipment, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, pretty much with the hunting, keep it simple as possible. Target. Now we're getting into, right now I run a 30-inch stabilizer front bar with I think I got like 12 ounces on the front, and I actually run less on the back, which is odd to a lot of people. They shoot like at least 2 times
More
as much
on the
weight
back.
on the back as they do on the front. And for
Mhm.
whatever reason, I just like that front pressure. It does me well. I'm shooting a Excel sight with a Shrewd scope, a 41 millimeter scope with a 3x housing with that ring I was talking about. And then arrows, it really depends on what shoot I'm at, right? So not every shoot, but different organizations have different rules. So like the USA archery shoots, you can't have anything more than a 23 size arrow. So it obviously has to be either 23 or below.
Right.
So I have a setup for that, which is Easton Super Drives. And that's all like glue in points. You don't have any screw in points, no inserts, any stuff, anything like that.
How light is that arrow for you, Dan?
That arrow is like 397. It's 400. It's light. Those are super light arrows. That my target bow is at like 59 point something pounds. 59. We'll just say 59 and a half. Reason for that is USA Archery, you can't be any more than 60 pounds. So everyone's scale is a little different. So I just went like a half a pound lighter than 60, hoping that I'd be within that, acceptable range.
Right.
Now Lancaster, you can shoot as big arrows as you want. So you're shooting full bore arrows. I shoot 27s. So a Victory NVX is what it's called. They don't even make them anymore. The new ones are man, I can't remember what the new ones are called. They're I've had a lot of luck with the Victory arrow, especially in target,
Nice.
side of things. VTAX, that's what the new Victory line is. VTAX.
Three or 4 Fletch.
So it really all depends. On my 27s, I run a 3 Fletch, just because I don't think you need that back steering capability on a 20-yard shot. I have 180 grains up front. That I don't know what my arrow is overall, but I want to say in mid to low 400s.
Okay.
So 20 yard shoots, which is like most of your indoor shoots, I just run a 3 Fletch. Pretty much everything else is a 4 Fletch.
Okay.
Anything outside, I really like having that capability of, a little bit of extra steering in the back. Now, if I'm seeing that I'm getting a lot of like twirling and stuff at long distances, I'll drop back to either a shorter, smaller Fletch and do 4, or I'll just drop to like a typical 3 Fletch. And I run max stealth vanes. I've been testing like a stiffer vane, like a tack vane. AAE just came out with a new, I think they're called air razors.
Yeah.
But it's very similar to a tack vane. So I'm gonna test those out. I've never had any problems with the max stealth vanes, or like a vane that has that similar kind of stiffness.
Yeah.
So
keep me
the
posted
theory
on
behind
that.
the stiff. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll do. So some of my fears with the stiff vanes is if you blow through a target, it ripples the vanes, and then you gotta refletch them, which I can do myself, but it's just more of a pain in the ass than anything.
Yeah.
I'm afraid if you have them in your quiver and they're touching each other, they'll bend and they'll morph, and they have no memory. So like it just stays there. The max stealth vanes, you can do anything with them things, and they just go right back. So that's why I always really kind of sided on them. A little bit of forgiveness, I guess, which is what everybody's kind of aiming for, especially in target, is that forgiveness word.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm constantly tinkering, to be honest. Like I don't have any set thing like, oh, this is exactly how you got to do it. I'm honestly like, if you asked me the same question 5 years ago, you're gonna get a totally different answer, and I'm assuming in 5 years from now, you're probably gonna get a totally different answer.
Let me ask you this question, because here's the one that I didn't really think about, right? Because a buddy of mine, he competes in some ASA stuff and along those lines, and I was kind of asking him similar questions about vanes, because I know that's a hot topic. I could care less, as long as, like you said, AAE has never steered me wrong in that sort of in anything. But if my setup is blue or something along those lines, I might throw blue vanes on just to be matchy, be that guy. But he was like, "Oh no, man, I'm running black." He's like, "I don't want anybody giving a reference point." I was like, "Ooh, yeah." Like I'd be the guy that'd show up and be like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna give you this bright pink sucker. Aim for that, right? If I'm, to be honest, if I'm shooting first, who knows? Hopefully, I'm in the right zone, or if they're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But so, are you too doing that similar
Yeah.
aspect of things? Yeah.
Yeah. Black, brown, dark gray. Yeah. No red knocks, nothing like that. Everything's black pretty much, or as dark as possible.
Jeez. Dog eat dog world, man.
It is. Man, our arrows are expensive. You don't want people hitting the back of them things.
I know. I was shooting the other day, and I was practicing with my hinge, and this is the first time I've ever used like pin knocks. Never had an arrow bill with them on before till this one. So and I'm shooting the hinge, and obviously I'm just training. I'm aiming for the spot. I was trying to get a sight tape put on, and I was like, all right, let me see if I could adjust where this top pin at 20 would be, because again, brand new setup for me. And I shot that one. I was like, holy shit, that went right where it was. Good. Okay. I'm back shooting the hinge a little bit. Next arrow, and I was like aiming for same spot, and when I shot it, I was like, I don't know, as soon as it hit, I heard the noise, and I was like, oh. I was like, why? Like in my mind, I'm like, why was I aiming for that same spot? Like, because I honestly, Dan, I kind of was under the impression like this isn't going to hit that same spot again with the hinge. Like again, I was just trying to training. It wasn't along those lines, and I was like, dang it. And I walked up, and the pin knock, half of it was broke off. Luckily, the arrow was still good. I could just change the pin knock, which was great. But yeah, so I was like, dang. I was just like, okay, this is like you said, man, they are expensive, and right now it's hard to get some arrows because people are buying. You got 3D season and along those lines. Like Jim said, if you're looking to buy a dozen arrows right now, buy 2. If you're looking to buy half a dozen right now, buy the dozen. So unfortunately, like you said, they're expensive, but man, you might be waiting a long time till you get them.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate cause of supply and demand right now. It's tough. Get your hunting arrows now and get your target arrows in hunting season. That's typically what I try to do to try to avoid that if you can.
Yeah, I like that, man, dude. That's it's exciting stuff, and I appreciate you sharing that target side of things and your archery adventures and along those lines, man. How was did you have a good hunting season this past year?
Yeah, I had a phenomenal season this year. Yeah. I killed something. That's why it was phenomenal. Just got lucky. Really, was able to make a move on a deer that I didn't have any like history with whatsoever. Like any seasons prior to that, I was actually hunting in a spot. I think this property. I want to say 9 acres, but it's about 1.5 acres to 2 acres of huntable. So it's literally on a side of a hill like this, like very, very steep. And then there's a little shelf, and then it drops off again, and then there's the house. That's where the house is. It's one of my buddies' parents' house, and they let me hunt it. You can only access from one spot. It's private, landlocked everywhere else, and it's just like the side. I don't have the top of the mountain. I don't have the bottom of the mountain. I just have like the centerpiece of the mountain, and typically it's a doe spot, right? Like so, it's all behind a bunch of houses. And typically I'll go in there and just fill my doe tags, get the freezer back up, get the feeling of shooting a deer, back into your brain. And I think I went there opening day or something. I'm not used to hunting Saturdays. That just started for me like this or last year.
Okay.
I've always hunted, Mondays. I've always had off Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, whatever. So I think it was opening day this year. And I got into the stand and no does come through. Actually, I think the does came through up high. And I didn't have a shot. And then I had a bachelor group of bucks come through, which I never see bucks here. I don't run cameras here anymore. I don't do food anymore because I've been hunting this piece for 15, 16 years. I've never seen a buck here between we'll just say June and middle of October.
Right.
Ever. Now opening day and there's a bachelor group of bucks and there was 3 of them I would have shot. So I was like, man, okay. So I spent a little bit more time over there, and it seemed like every time I was in the stand, and the stand set up hilarious, right? I can jump in the pool from the tree stand, damn near. It's the perfect setup, right? Because I could get in right after work and get out without deer. There's 0 chance of a deer getting behind me, like absolutely 0. So I can hunt it as much as I want, as long as. And typically the wind, I think it's the way the mountain and the house sits. no matter what the weather channel says the wind is, I always have good wind. Like the wind is just always sucking down that mountain. Now, obviously, it could be because I'm hunting mostly in the afternoons, and thermals and stuff are pulling stuff like that. But
yeah,
so typically I can pretty much. That's my I can go there whenever. So going there more and more and more. Now I'm like, okay, there's these bucks are like, this was a one-off thing on October 1st or whatever. So kind of spent a little bit more time there, and I ended up shooting a doe. I want to say the end of October, and it died. I called one of my buddies, and he came over. We took some photos. We're just kind of hanging out, and he went and got the deer cart. And when he was coming back, he was coming up the four-wheeler trail. And he's like, hey, man, you might want to come over here and check this out. There's massive scrape, dude. Massive scrape. I'm like, okay, this is very interesting because there's never been any rubs there, never been any scrapes there. Like, this is all, I'm like, this is crazy that this is all of a sudden just happening.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going back that afternoon and setting up, put a fresh set in 15 yards from the scrape. And I hunted it that day, nothing. Saw a bunch of deer, but nothing. Nothing came in within range. And I went, I think it was Halloween, and right after work, I ended up having a button buck come through. He comes through at 12 yards. It's like down this lane. It's perfect. Then there was 2 does, I believe it was, behind him, and they were pretty much in front of me. And then I caught like a glimmer in the sun behind them, and this is like maybe 50 yards away. So I'm like looking through the trees, obviously not trying to move around a ton, but I see what caught my eye was a antler. I was like, "Ooh, okay, all right." And then we're getting to that time. It's good now. So if this buck walks where these does and the button buck did, it's lights out. It's pretty much 12-yard shot. I mean, that's what we dream of, right? Well, a squirrel decided it was gonna parkour, race around in the woods and scared the button buck, which in turn scared the does, who took off, which in turn took him, off the other way. I was so mad. I went back there and we hammered the squirrels after that because that irritated me. So I was like, I got to get back in there the next day. Obviously, that scrape is now hot. I got to get back in there. So I snuck out of work like an hour early, got in there, and from the time I sat down till I ended up shooting the buck, it was just nonstop. Yeah, it was one of those days that we all just dream about. I literally sat down. I look up. There's a 7-point, but his belly was almost dragging on the ground. This thing is just a massive deer, and I was gonna shoot him, and he was walking like 40-45 yards, but he's like literally probably 20 yards above me, like in elevation. Like that's how steep this mountain is. So I'm like, okay, I let him get out of sight, and I did a little like grunt sequence, which I never do. I never have a grunt to. We actually just got done recording, and Antonio on our show was like, dude, like, why do you never have a grunt call? I'm like, that shit never works. That's why I don't have it. And sure enough, I did it.
It worked.
Bow to him, it worked. And so I do my whole thing. And that deer gave 0 shits about that grunt call, right? The 5-point, did not care, 7-point, did not care what at all. And I'm thinking, all right, Antonio, I'm about to throw this thing. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, this is stupid. I told you this doesn't work. I go to turn around, and I see a buck just standing and, like, coming out of this thicket. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, just kind of caught me off guard. And he was just milling around. Obviously, he heard me with the grunt call and probably came out of that thicket to see, like, what the hell's going on. And, he ended up just kind of milling around and bedded down. And I was standing, and he bedded facing me. And he was probably about 50 yards, I want to say. And I didn't want to do too much movement. I did have the tree between me and him, which was a blessing because I ended up just kind of leaning against that, take the pressure off your legs and stuff like that. Eventually, a bunch of does were up on the top ridge, and a forkhorn, something like that, was chasing them around just nonstop, around, back and forth, up and down. Apparently, and eventually he got more pissed off than I was, or annoyed. Went up the hill, took care of business, right? And at the same point in time, this big boy came back, the 7-pointer. They were squaring off with each other on top of the mountain. It was like I wish I had my video camera. It was the coolest shit ever.
Dude, that's so cool.
And then they just kind of chased each other over the mountain. I was like, it is what it is. That was awesome. That's a great day in the woods right there. If it would have ended right there. Well, the button buck that I was talking about the day before ends up coming through, same time that he did the day before, with the 2 does, and I was like, okay, maybe this buck's gonna come back, make a big loop around, see that his does are gone, and come through. So I'm ignoring everything behind me now, and I'm just intent watching this, thicket to wait for this buck to come out. And I hear stuff running around behind me. I peek over my shoulder, and it was that fork horn again. I don't know how he ended up where he did, but he did, or probably honestly, it was probably a different deer. And I was like, all right, whatever, dude. Like, you do your thing, get out of here. And him and the button buck were messing with each other, just doing deer things. So I'm like zoned in on this thicket, and I hear this over my shoulder. I'm like, what's going on? I peek, look over my shoulder, and it's a 9-pointer. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on now? Like, I'm not ready for this at all. My feet are backwards, like my bow's the other way. It's like, now we're complete cluster. And so he's walking out. I'm talking, he's 6-7 yards. He's not, like, he's there.
Yeah.
And he's downwind of me, like directly downwind of me. And he's coming, we're almost at like eye level, right? Because of the mountain.
Holy shit, yeah.
So I'm just like leaning against a tree, not moving. He gets in front of me. Like, there's a red oak that has co-dominant, so it's got a pretty big base. And he got behind that, and I quick spun, grabbed the bow, got everything ready. And as soon as he peeked out in front of that, I drew back, and I tried to get him to stop because his ears were pinned back. He was in a zone and all his own, and I tried to get him to stop, and he wouldn't stop. So I had to give him like a pretty loud meh to get him to stop. And like I said, we're only 6 yards away. He probably felt it more than he heard it. And I'm on my tippy toes, dude, trying to shoot this deer. I draw back. I'm on my tippy toes because there's a branch that comes out like right at my like rib level.
Yep.
So I'm trying to get over this thing and not hit my limbs, any of that stuff. Well, my sight was clear, but my arrow was not. So I let go, and my arrow hits this limb and goes into never ever land.
Oh my God.
I'm like, oh no, like what a rookie idiot mistake, like just rushing it, trying to make it happen. Doesn't face his deer whatsoever. Doesn't even look my way. Doesn't look, he just stopped, and he's just staring in the direction he was, walking. And he just like puts his head down and starts walking again. So I usually strap my quiver behind me on the tree. So I just reached behind me, grabbed another arrow, put on there. But he turns, so he's like walking parallel with the mountain, and then he turns. Now he's coming like down towards my like left hip.
Okay.
And I'm like, what? Okay, sure. Obviously, he's going to the scrape. My brain didn't think of that at the time when all this is going on, right? So he's coming down, but now the limb is the opposite point of annoyance, right? Now it's like, now I'm trying to get under it. I was trying to get over it. Now I'm trying to get under it. So I end up getting in a catcher stance on the tree stand.
Holy cow.
Draw my bow back. And I mean, he was at this point in time, we're talking on 5-6 yards. Yeah.
I was to say you're on top of him.
And I just let him have it, shot, and I hit. It was a lot steeper than I thought. So I caught one lung, and he expired probably 40 yards from me, I want to say. Mm-hmm. But he would like, it took him a long time to get to that 40 yards, which really sucked to watch. And there was zero chance of me being able to shoot him again because of all the trees and like the canopy and stuff there. And yeah, he ate it pretty good, and he would walk like 15 yards. Like, he was like looking at it, like he had zero idea what was going on. I shot him with a slick trick, Viper trick, I think it was. Okay. And yeah, I mean, once it started to bleed, dude, it just tore him up. Yeah, it tore him up, and he finally expired. And I got a hold of my buddies and stuff like that. And I was like, oh man, like, yeah, got one down. I believe it was November 1st when this happened. And so this is the funny part. I'm getting all my stuff set up, and I was trying to get my bow rope up to let my bow down, and I got caught on the step at the very first step, right? As it always does, just to annoy you even more. Mm-hmm. And I was like, God damn it! So I'm like playing with that thing, like trying to get it off without like ripping it too hard to like get your stick to come off the tree. And I'm like, God, I gotta get down, and I hear this like rustling. I'm like, oh no, my deer got back up. So I'm like getting my binos, and I'm looking, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, why is my deer standing? And then I realized that's not my deer. That's another 9-pointer absolutely beating the shit out of my deer on the ground, bulldozing this thing down the hill. I'm like, oh, this is a problem. A, I don't want to drag this thing any more uphill than I already have to.
Right.
B, I don't want this thing to destroy my deer.
Right.
So now, and so I get down to the bottom and I'm like, screw the bow. So I just run over there and I'm like, waving, yelling, like, hey. This deer did not care in the least bit that I was
He was
there.
like, you want some too?
Oh, no. Yeah, he did. So he's on the other side of the, so it's me and then we'll say 20 yards, the dead deer, and then him. And he's pushing this thing and beating it up. I finally get his attention. Dude, I swear to God, Jeremy, this deer takes 3 steps over my dead deer and like squares up with me. And I'm not making this up at all. And it's dark outside. And I'm like, I'm going to have to initiate battle here. Like this is, I'm thinking in my head, like I was training jiu-jitsu at the time. I'm like, this might actually save my life here. Like this is something that might actually happen. And it's like, all of a sudden he just like, it just clicked that he's like, oh wait, you're a predator. I'm not supposed to be like here.
Yeah.
And he just turned around and he didn't like take off. He just kind of like, he got out of there, but he definitely didn't get out of there fast. He probably only ran 30 yards, stopped and just watched me the whole time.
Yep.
But that was crazy, dude. I've never experienced that. I've heard guys like talking about like, they shoot a buck and like it's just the middle of the rut and, beating stuff up, but I've never experienced it. It like caught me off guard. Didn't have my bow, didn't have a gun, didn't have nothing.
Yeah. You're like, okay, I'm about to get, forked right here.
Yeah. I'm thinking, we're going to battle.
Yeah. Oh, man, dude, that is wild. And congrats on that. What a story, like you said, too. Never really seen deer ever in that location. Dude, but that's the beauty. No trail cameras, like no nothing. And you're in there, you're seeing like, oh, you had the intel of opening day and you're going in for a doe hunt and kill one and you find that fresh sign. It's, it's like anything that we've learned over the last couple of years. And man, it's really cool to hear stories like that because that's what it's all about. I mean, like I was thinking as we were talking earlier, Dan, like when we were saying about this competitiveness, like don't get me wrong, there's thousands of hunters out there that are like, well, what, you're not competitive going out hunting? Well, I am like with myself because I want to get better. But listen, I don't have the caliber of deer of, I mean, they're out there. Don't get me wrong, but dude, time, effort, other responsibilities, other things out there that it might be a little bit as important or more important. I can't dwell on a deer, right? I mean, no, I could share. I mean, you've seen the deer that I've talked about on the podcast before. I've shared photos with you, and I mean, that's one that you could get really fired up about. But like, dude, he doesn't haunt me. It's not like one of those things where it's like maybe for some people, but I mean, so so to hear that aspect of things is really cool. I had Byron Horton on a couple weeks ago and he's talking about not using cameras next year and he just wants to get back into it and of just being in the presence of the moment. I don't care where you stand. I feel like there's too many ripples amongst everything in the world of just, and to bring it into this, like wherever you stand, as long as you do it legal and all that stuff. And I get Byron's point. And I believe in Byron's point, and I also believe in your point of things. And then, it's just how can we mesh it right and make it flow all together. And so to hear that story of your success and to see your passion telling it, your smiles, man, I felt like I was there. I could see you squatting down in that catcher's position and just letting it hammer and being, ready to square up with that other 9-point, man. That's friggin' awesome. That's what we strive for and what we love to hear.
Absolutely. And it was only, I think we measured that deer out to like 122 inches, I think it was, man, which is good. It's very good for like where I live. So it was a very good buck for where I live. It was a great story. It was killed at a buddy's house. Like there was just, every part of it was just awesome. And it was like, and it's, so 2 weeks before that, we actually did a whole episode on this because I was trying to kill a deer that was 160s, 170s, which is unheard of where I live, right? And I mean, it was, I don't know if did I send you a picture of this deer, Jeremy?
I don't know. I don't think you did, actually.
You would know. It's like a 15-pointer. It's something. Okay. It's just ridiculous. It looks like it shouldn't be there, right? It looks like a Texas deer just dropped off. Yep. Where I live, and that was on a completely different piece of private. So I was like bouncing back and forth. Do I like put all my time and chips into this giant, like once of a lifetime buck, or do I hunt somewhere else and kill a really good buck? or do I, spend time out of state? So it's like this constant juggle. And for me, like the big deer just doesn't top that list. Like I would
Right.
much rather kill decent bucks or really good
Mhm.
bucks,
Mhm.
in multiple states, or, killing bucks and then go, hunting with buddies, doing, um, waterfowl, or, upland, small game, stuff like that. I just love hunting. It doesn't really matter what I do.
Yeah.
So that's always a constant battle. Would I absolutely love to kill 170 deer? Yeah, for sure.
Right. We all would. Yeah.
Right, but I'm not necessarily willing to put in 6 months of work specifically for that one deer, unless it's something that I know, like, I can really get in, make a move on, like, if it's starting to, like, snowball to where it makes sense.
Mhm.
But this deer never did. Like, I only got 2 photos of him in the summertime. Never I think I got 1 hard bone photo, and then that was it. It was, like, September 29th,
Yep.
and I know historically on that property that the bucks that I typically get in velvet season, more than half of them leave and never come back.
Yeah.
And I might see them like late season. But typically, man, I don't know if they're just moving. I don't know if they're getting poached. I have no idea what happens. And it's every year and this property I've been hunting for 20 years.
Wow.
It's every year. It's the same song and dance. And I knew that there was a very good chance that this was going to happen. Now, if I would have, started getting pictures of that big buck in, mid-October, late October, stuff
Then
like
it's a
that,
different
then
story.
I probably
Mhm.
would have switched gears, but I didn't
Mhm.
have that. So I was like, I'm not in the game to be hunting ghosts right now. We just started Craving Wild too. So it was like we didn't just start Craving Wild, but the podcast. So we were
Mhm.
like, you also want to like get kills on the board. You don't I just didn't want to spend so much time on one deer and then end up with empty pockets. And,
Mhm.
a big part of our show is like the cooking aspect of it. And when you're cooking it, ain't nobody knows or cares how many antlers it had on when you shot it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that was kind of the theory behind that. And then I just got super fortunate and was, had a beautiful deer walk in front of me at that other piece of property and just kind of took advantage of it.
Hell yeah, man. Dude, that's awesome. Listen, there's so many more things we have to go down here in the future, as random topics to improve. My goal is that like once May rolls around, maybe middle of May, obviously like once June hits, that's usually when I'll ramp it back up as far as talking a lot about like maybe some hunting things and and some other pieces like that. So there's definitely more topics, Dan, that I would love to pick your brain about, especially some out of state stuff. Get your perspective on certain other topics and things. So we'll put a pin in it for right now, because like I said, right now I wanted to get your perspective on just talking some archery stuff, man, because again, it's what I'm going to be doing, and I want to pick your brain more about it. But I wanted you to share that story because, man, about shooting Lancaster, winning the outdoor show, and just putting yourself out there, because archery, man, is so much fun. And whether you are shooting with buddies in the backyard, or you're stepping up on the line at Lancaster Archery, or you're stepping up at the stake at your local 3D shoot, just have fun with it. And if you could transfer that fun into other things with your buddies, your family, we could be in a better place, man. And I appreciate you sharing that, and it makes me want to do better with my archery endeavor. And from afar, man, I don't even know if you knew that, like there's so many people that are influencing me in certain facets of life, man, and I'm very appreciative of it. And I just want to say thank you for that. And I want to say, dude, keep crushing with podcasting, with your cooking thing, just everything, because it's fun to watch.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate those words. And once again, thanks for having me on, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Dude, it's been
Like
long
we said,
overdue.
yes. Every year we see each other at a show, we're like, dude, we're gonna do this or what?
I know.
And
Man.
we finally got to work out. So yeah, I appreciate that, man. And yeah, like absolutely, man. Just kind of key off of what you said too. Like if you want to get in target archery, it's a perfect way to do the competitive thing. It's also going to make you a much better shot for hunting, right? So it plays multiple parts. It keeps you busy, keeps you outside. You can do it with anybody. Anybody can shoot, and anybody can shoot tournaments too. Like I'm not,
pro,
crazy shot by any means.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. You just, if you do something 7,000 times, eventually you're going to get somewhat half decent at it. And like anybody can do that. You just put some time into it, get some equipment, and just go shoot. Get with some buddies, go shoot. You'll meet nothing but great people at all these shoots. I think you're doing mountain archery, right?
So I'll do.
The MAF?
I'm not doing that one. I'm doing the montage one, which I was going to ask you about.
Montage. Yes, that's
Yep.
what I was thinking of. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I'm going to do montage. I actually recorded with Greg and his buddy that put that on. We shot it last year, Dan, and it was unbelievable. It was so much fun.
Cool.
So I'm hoping you'll be around because I know there's a couple other things I want to pick your brain about as far as outdoor insiders, because I know you've shot up there and along those lines, and we plan on making a trip and doing that and stuff like that. But man, I love what you said. It makes you better, obviously, in the hunting world, and just everything else around that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I plan on being at the Montage Mountain Shoot for sure. I talked to Taylor about going on. I'm trying to make sure he goes too.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, definitely do that. The outdoor insiders, great. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Great people, great place, great shoot.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
I like it, dude. Well, man, I'm looking forward to it. When that episode airs, this might actually air before that one because I really like this conversation. What we might do too with that, Dan, is as of right now, that Saturday is when we shoot. We have an early time slot, but afterwards, obviously we'll be down in that area where there's like some food, but we plan on doing a little bit of a tailgate because Tim's shooting, Tom's shooting, obviously Jim is, our buddy Josh is shooting. Like we're going to have like a decent amount of people. And if Taylor shoots as well, that you're saying, because I think he was trying to sign up last time that I was talking to him too. So we're planning on doing a tailgate, man, just of hanging out, just all buddies. And Tim and Tom are, I think Tim is with Tom, but Tom has 3 or 4 other friends that are coming to shoot from that area as well. So there's going to be a group of guys, man. We just want to have a day, shoot the shit, have fun, talk, just be around. So if you're able to stick around, dude, you're more than welcome to obviously do that. And anybody listening to that will be at that shoot too. Just stop by, hang out, grab a drink, grab something to eat. We plan on being there until they have to say you got to go type of ordeal.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's May 4th, I believe, right?
That's,
or 3rd?
The next weekend, the 17th.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah, because it's the week after Mother's Day. Because I mentioned that to Greg. I was like, thank you. I was like, because if my wife now, she'd been like, well, okay, like that's fine. But now that she's, all over again with the baby, she, that day's got to be nice and special again.
Yeah, absolutely. I was hoping it was that week because the week before, the week before that, I'm actually going to be up in New York, turkey hunting. So I'm going to come down Friday to get ready for our season opener. But there's opens May 1st, so I'm going to take advantage of that and try and get a couple of days in before our season starts.
I like it, man. Well, dude, where can people listen to Craving Wild, catch you out on social media, all that fun stuff?
So yeah, pretty much anywhere you can listen to podcasts. We're on YouTube. Obviously, Spotify is the heavy hitter for us. It's just Craving Wild. Instagram's craving.wild. The YouTube is something similar. I'm a terrible, terrible with this stuff. But yeah, just Google Craving Wild. It'll come up.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Once again, I really do appreciate having me on, man.
Dude, anytime. Like I said, it's definitely been long overdue. I'm an asshole for taking this long. So, hey, man, go check Dan out and check out the boys over at Craving Wild. It's great stuff. It's fun stuff. Down to earth, as you can tell, hopefully listening to Dan. So thanks again, everybody, for the support. Enjoy this fun episode. We'll see you next week. Antler up.